The holidays are rolling around, and one of the major centers of attraction for holiday meals are turkeys. I have a process for cooking my turkeys which I call dry brining. It's not a new concept. It's been around for a while, a long, long while. And I've been doing this since about 2009. And what I find is that my brine technique makes my turkey moist, flavorful, and tender. And I'm going to share it with you. In 2009, there was an article in the L.A Times about dry brining turkeys. This article was by Russ Parsons, and I found it intriguing. So at that time, I took his recipe, his process, and I did it exactly as he described in the L.A Times. Then the next time I did this turkey, and I did it again because it was very, very good turkey. I really enjoyed it. I incorporated a few other things that I thought would make this turkey even more moist, tender, and flavorful. Approximately 1 tablespoon of kosher salt is enough to brine 5 pounds of bird or 5 pounds of turkey. Because my turkey is approximately 15 pounds, I'm going to be using 3 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of lemon pepper, 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic or garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of dry mustard, and 1/2 to a teaspoonful of cayenne pepper, depending on your taste. And I also have the zest of 1 lemon, or you could have the zest of 1 lime. I've already mixed these quantities in my bowl here, and I'm going to then take this dry ingredients, including the zest of lemon, and we're going to dry brine this turkey. Additional equipment that I'll need for this would be a couple of plastic bags, and just make sure they're leak proof, because the process is going to include me taking this turkey and I'm going to put this dry brine mixture on it. I'm going to smooth this mixture all over the outside of the turkey and the inside of the turkey. We're going to place it in the plastic bags. We're going to refrigerate it for 3 days. Yep, you heard me. 3 days. Dry brining for 3 days assures that the salt mixture, and primarily the salt, has a chance to infuse into the turkey. And while it's infusing into the turkey, it's going to draw moisture out of the turkey. So the first day or so, you're going to see a lot of liquid in the plastic bag. However, after approximately the first day, day and a half, that liquid, which is a salty brine, is then going to try to equilibrate itself in the turkey so that the amount of salt inside of the turkey and the amount of salt outside of the turkey are the same. And that is the dry brining process. You can achieve this same thing using a wet brine, salt and water and whatever flavorings and spices you want in that water, and you let it brine for whatever time you want it to, and the same equilibration of salts will occur. All the other flavorings may or may not get into that bird. It's very controversial whether or not anything can actually penetrate other than the salt. However, what I find is that when you taste the bird, you do get the flavors of the other things that you've put in that dry brine throughout the turkey. That's just me, just talking, just saying. My turkey is thawed. It's still a little bit more ice and stuff inside, but that's okay because once I put that dry brine on that, that's going to start to thaw even more. One of the things about this turkey that I want to point out to you novice cooks is that usually they have the turkey neck, And that's usually in the inside cavity and there. But there's also going to be a bag sometimes of gizzards and heart and the liver, which is going to be tucked away in this cavity. So make sure before you start doing anything to this turkey that you removed all the pieces from it. Now I'm going to save these because that makes for very good gravy and a broth, so we'll save that for later on when we cook the turkey and get ready to serve it. Now I'm going to apply the dry brine. Once again, I have my lemon zest and my seasoning mixture, and I'm going to combine those now. I didn't combine them before just because I didn't want the lemon zest to dry out, and I did make this earlier this morning. Okay, then we just start applying this dry brine. I'm going to start with the inside of the bird. So we'll just turn it on its head. And we'll coat the inside of this bird with that dry brine. And making sure we get it pretty much incorporated all over. And then I'm going to turn it over and start with the back first. And I am going to put some in this little crevice here because that'll get to some of the breast in there. And then we just make sure we give it a coating all on the outside, around those wings, underarm, all over the back. And I try to pat my rub on. I don't tend to rub it. And then I'll turn it over and we'll finish applying the rest of this to the outside of this bird, the drumsticks, and all over the breast. And because it's still a little bit moist, it also helps to make sure that this dry brine stays on here better. And the other parts of the drumsticks. Okay, we've got our dry brine applied. And then I have my plastic bags here. Move these out of the way so you can see. And I'm just going to put my turkey down in these plastic bags. I have a double. And if there's any of the dry brine that you can get just sort of on the outside, go ahead. It doesn't matter because there's enough in there to incorporate all over the bird. So I take the plastic bag and make sure I get it wrapped all around that bird. And I'll twist the plastic, tie it in a knot. During the 3-day dry brining process, I'm going to be massaging this bird. So I'll go in and I'll pat all around it and turn it and massage it some more. Turn it and massage it some more. And I double bag it just because I don't want any leaks. And if there are any leaks, it will mess up the refrigerator. So we'll tie that off. And now my bird is rubbed, dry brine, and ready to go in the refrigerator with daily massaging and turning until the 3-day process is over, and then we'll move on. Here we are at the First 24 hours of dry brining. And you can see there's a lot of liquid in there, but that's okay because that's from the continued thaw of the turkey, in addition to the salt and the dry brine pulling moisture out of the turkey, which will re-equilibrate. So I'm going to massage it gently, and that's just to pat more in the juices. And then I'm also going to just turn it over so they can spend the next day on its stomach, on its breast, turkey breast. Here we are at the end of the second 24 hours of dry brining this 15-pound bird turkey. Okay, it is currently breast side down, and I'm gonna do my little massaging all around. Call this a one-handed massage, so I've got the camera in the other hand. And it's not much, it's just a matter of going around. Turning it over. And I'm going to put it back on its back. There is still quite a bit of brine liquid in there, and that's a combination of the moisture that was in the turkey from being frozen and completing the thaw process. I didn't say earlier, but one of the things to consider is that you can start dry brining while this turkey is still frozen. I would probably let it defrost for at least a day and then put the dry brine on and then continue the next couple of days, and I think you probably get the same beneficial effects. I've never done it that way, but I've read that it will work. Give it a try and let me know. Okay, we're going to put it back in the refrigerator so it can continue this 3-day dry brining, and we'll get ready tomorrow to go on to the next step. These are the ingredients for the slather that I will be placing on the turkey after it goes through the 3-day brine process and just prior to putting it in the smoker or oven if you prefer. The slather is going to include parquet margarine, and it's going to be the squeeze bottle, and I'm going to use approximately a half to 3/4 of that bottle, depending on the way that the mixture combines. I've got sage, and that's about a teaspoon of sage. I have a teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt that has been ground. I have a teaspoon of ground black pepper. I have about 4 cloves of garlic, minced. I have dried parsley, approximately a teaspoon. Dried rosemary, approximately a teaspoon. I have dried thyme, approximately a teaspoon. And I have dried oregano, approximately a teaspoon. All these ingredients will be combined in this little bowl, and I'll mix it up with the parquet. So I'm going to add all my ingredients. Got the sage, parsley, rosemary, thyme, oregano, salt. And you're wondering, why did I grind up that Himalayan pink salt? Only because it came as the rock salt, and I needed to just get it in a more ground presentation. I've got my pepper, and I've got the garlic. I'm going to combine all of those ingredients before I put the parquet margarine. In addition to parquet, you could use butter. Softened butter would work. Softened plain old margarine would work. It's just that it's easier to use this parquet because it just squeezes out in liquid form, and even when it's refrigerated, it's in liquid form. You want to make sure that you combine all these ingredients with the butter or margarine at least 6 to 8 hours before you slather it on your turkey. This turkey is going to have a whole lot of herbs on the outside of it. Smoking it, I'm not worried about that burning. But all those aromas and flavors will penetrate that meat and give it a very, very nice flavor. The butter will protect the skin and make it brown easier. And we'll see what we get when we get this turkey on the smoker. I've combined the parquet with the herbs and spices. I'm going to just thoroughly mix this, and they're going to refrigerate it. And when I get ready to use it, we'll take it out of the refrigerator a little bit so that it can soften up some. And we'll apply it to our dry brine turkey. Okay, turkey has been in the refrigerator for about 72 hours now, 3 days. We started with a dry brine. We stuck it in plastic bags. Daily I would go through, massage a little baby, and flip it over so that the juices that are in here would go from the top to the bottom, then the bottom to the top. Now I'm getting ready to take it out of the bags. And let's get on with it. Let's just do it, okay? I'm going to start by cutting away the outer plastic bag. And we'll cut away the second plastic bag. I don't wash the bird off. I just sort of pat it dry. The whole idea at this point is to get this bird dry, because I'm going to then put it in the refrigerator open so that the refrigerator fan can air dry the skin. Let me just mention again also that the reasoning for putting the bird in the refrigerator uncovered to dry the skin is so that once it starts to cooking, the skin is drier. It will not come out as rubbery as it would if it were wet. Once this turkey has been in the refrigerator overnight and the skin has had a chance to get a little bit dry, we're ready for the next layer of flavor to go into it. And this is going to be inside the cavity. I'm going to use this cheesecloth, and I'm going to put in the cheesecloth some onions. I've got cilantro. This happens to be fresh cilantro. I've got fresh thyme, fresh rosemary. I've got garlic, roughly chopped. I've got sage, poultry seasoning. I've got some oregano, black pepper, parsley, some bay leaves, in addition to some celery seed. And all of this is going to go into this pouch. Let's do this. I'm going to start first by putting the onions in. And this is just a lot of aromatics that are going to go into this bird, and as it's cooking, they're going to be releasing lots and lots of flavor. And that's going to penetrate all throughout the bird. And then I'm just going to take all of the dried herbs and put them on top. Then we'll take the pouch and we'll sort of try to fold it up. And the size, you just make sure you don't put so much stuff in there that doesn't fit inside the turkey. You know, sometimes some years I've added other things to this pouch. I mean, anything from like apples, sliced apples, oranges, lemons, whatever flavor that you want to go into your turkey, you can put it in there. Or whatever flavors you want to leave out of what I've included, you can also do that. It's up to you. It's your bird. What I find is all the different flavors add different layers of flavor for you. And it's just based on, once again, I'll just say it again, what you like and what you want. I'm getting the smoker all set up to do a turkey, smoked turkey, a dry brine smoked turkey. So fire starters, have got my charcoal started. I'm using Royal Oak lump. I've got a wood in there. I've got 2 apple and 1 small hickory. And I'm just experimenting with the hickory. I usually don't cook with it, but I'm just getting an idea of what flavor profile it gives me. It's now time to get ready to prep our turkey to put it in the smoker. I have the smoker going now, and it's on its way up to 275 degrees. I've got a couple of pieces of apple chunks in the smoker and 1 small piece of hickory. Something different for me, because usually I'm a pecan, cherry type person, but today I'm going to go with the apple and the hickory just to see what it does for the flavor profile. Other things I've got going here, I've got some chicken broth, and I'm going to be using the chicken broth to wet my ingredients that are going to go in the cavity. And that's just to wet the gauze and to make sure that it's moist so that it doesn't pull moisture out of my turkey, but sort of adds moisture to it by going through a little slow steaming inside the bird. In addition, I have my slather, and this is my butter and herb mixture, which we discussed earlier in the video. And that's going to go on the outside of the bird. And that's going to create a lot of flavor in there. There's lots and lots of flavor going on in this bird, I have to say. This is our bird. And it's been in the refrigerator uncovered all night long. And I want to show you the drying of the skin. That's a pellicle. That's the culinary term for drying the skin out on this bird. In getting the turkey ready for the slather, I'm going to put a little bit of the slather inside the cavity of the bird, and then I'll put in my little flavor pack and pouring chicken broth over it so I can get it moist. I put a little bit of the slather mixture inside the cavity. Now I'm going to place my moist flavor pack in there. No particular way. Just slide it off on in there. I'll put this off to the side. Then we'll take our slather, and I'm going to start here on the top, because what winds up happening is that some of the slather will make its way down the bird. Making sure to get this mixture coated all over the drumsticks, the thigh area, the wings. And I'm now going to have to go in there with my hands and move it around some more, but as a means of keeping it a little bit clean right now, we'll be dainty with it. Now the back of the bird, I'm not going to bother about putting any of the slather on there because it will just run off. And actually, as the bird's cooking, some of the slather from the top is going to migrate all around anyway. So I'll just save this all for the top of the bird. So let's head to the smoker and put our bird in and get it set to cook. We're looking at probably I'm gonna say at least a 3.5, maybe 4 hour cook at 275. We'll play it by ear as we go. I've got the bird out and getting ready to put in the smoker. And I also have a temperature probe I'm going to put in. And I have it set for 165. And I'm going to put that in the turkey breast. And now we go in. Our turkey is done. Very nice color on it. I basted it once again in the juices in the pan. Nothing left now but to let it rest a little while. I just took it out about 10 minutes ago. So I'll let it rest and then we'll cut into it. So we got here a dry brined, 3-day dry brined turkey smoked with apple and hickory wood in the smoker for it went for about 3 hours and 45 minutes. Temperature in the smoker ranged between 275 and 300. Juicy, juicy.